Hi everyone, since I'm having a great hair day, I decided to drop in. I know I'm looking a little more moist just because I'm using Bobbi Brown's eye repair since my this is the moisturizer. This is the repair moisturizing cream. I have the bigger container, but I'm not sure. But I've discovered another reason why this is actually pretty good. My son dries out because he like washes his hands so much, and but I don't use it for his hands. But he dries out on his neck a bit. And so I use it on his neck. And it works so well. So that's something else. I don't use it on my neck, but I use it on his because he gets dry patches. Well, I know when I was pregnant, I used to get dry patches in the weirdest areas. And one of them was on my neck. And then I'm using the eye repair until my Avon comes. But because of all the frozen weather, my Avon is on delay. So I'm using the Bobbi Brown eye repair, and it's going to take forever to use because even though it's not doesn't seem like a big container, it's you don't use much. So, and I have quite a bit of it because during the Christmas season, so both of these are eye creams. During the Christmas season, they give you a lot, a lot of free stuff. And Bobbi Brown was giving out the best free stuff this year. So this is interesting. Okay, so this is hydrating eye cream. This is the eye repair cream. And this is vitamin enriched eye base. All eye cream. You're going to ask me if they're all good. I like them all. And they do pretty well with dark eyes because I don't get enough sleep. Anyway, I want to talk about Judas since I have spent some time away from you. I don't, how do I feel about Judas? So I actually was in a group where we talked about Judas, and there's been a lot of think pieces. One of them I actually think that is really relevant. And one of them, because at first glance, people would say it doesn't matter. And before it doesn't matter. And one of the because you're like, if the acting is good, the acting is good. And I would agree. But I think it's important to know if you had actors that are closer in age, I think that this would have been different. So, like the informant, he was 17 years old. And I think that that puts into perspective when people are like, oh, he's a traitor, he's a Judas. Absolutely true, right? But on the other hand, he's 17. What 17-year-old should be in a meeting with a federal agent without a parent? And I know that we try children as adults. I get that. But you're make you these to be a federal officer, you have to have, well, I don't know then, but I know now you have to have a bachelor's degree at least. And I'm assuming that it was then too, but I'd have to look it up. Um, but I know that these are adults. These are not 17 and 17-year-olds. And then we know that J. Edgar Hoover was a grown man because he had been over the bureau. Um, since the 30s. He created it. He was the first dude. So I am struggling with the idea that these grown men have are essentially manipulating these young men. Um, and then I think it's also important to note class issue that's taking place. And I know that people don't want to talk about it. Fred Hampton was 21. He came from a nicer middle class family. This informant was 17. And we are talking about extreme levels of poverty that was taking place in inner cities like Chicago. And I think that that leads us to having a different conversation here. So it's like, I don't think it's as simple as, I can't believe he took the money. I think it's more effective to look at how Blacks were treated in Chicago. You have to remember where the case to the fair housing, these cases against redlining, that was in Chicago. You know, I I think it's more complicated, and I think that this movie makes it seem like it's not that complicated. Like they're not, and I realize that movies aren't supposed to be the do all be all. And I was having this discussion in that thing. They're like, well, you need to do your own research. And that, of course, is true. But then seconds later, someone was talking about how Martin Luther King was involved in integrating schools. And I was like, hello? No, he wasn't. And so, and in my mind, you proved my point. You're here to have a talk about, to have this intellectual on this panel, to have a discussion of a movie, and you don't know that Martin Luther King was not involved in integrating. In fact, he felt that, I was like, integration was not what he wanted. He wanted dignity, equitable treatment. He believed in Black business. He believed in the Black church. He believed in HBCUs. He believed that Black children, and a specific quote from him is, Black children should not be handed over to white folks to be educated because they don't care about you. Black teachers care about their Black students. So it's and it goes back to my point that these movies, as much as they're entertainment, and I'm so sorry that people may feel this way, that people may get upset, but Black movies do have an extra responsibility to be accurate, to have very close depictions of things, um, so that you can see that this boy was 17. And so if you have an actor that looks like 30, when in fact, bruh was 17, and you have another actor that looked like 30-ish, both of them look 30s when they 17 and 21. And then when you do not put Fred Hampton frame, when people like, oh, he just got on, and see, this is another thing that I've been hearing a lot of. Well, he just got on the FBI's radar. Like, how big is that? And it's like, no, he didn't just, he got on the FBI's radar because he was among people. He was dealing with he had began this formation of thought when he was at ages of like 12, 13. He was beginning his thinking, and he was also meeting with other leaders. So this is not coming out of anywhere. He was meeting with Snick. He was like, so this is not a all of a sudden, boop, he becomes on the radar. And that's how we are entered into this film. Because I know that this movie really wasn't about Fred Hampton. The movie was about the young man who was infiltrating, who led to the implement, who really helped the death of Fred. But unfortunately, the takeaway is that people don't know enough about Fred Hampton to realize, and I think that they could have spent a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, to put the setting that informants aren't new. This is normal, especially at this time. It was normal for informants to be around. Number two, Fred Hampton wasn't just getting on the radar because of his activity in Chicago, but because he was also making moves before he really started the chapter in Chicago. Um, I don't know. So I mean, do I like the movie? Yeah, I think it's cool. But I think sometimes it does more harm when you have these kind of movies because people don't, if you spend like I said, a few minutes, just a few minutes to educate people a little more in a movie than you would, like Ava DuVernay in When They See Us. She set the tone. She put us in the setting. And I think that is what's missing in this Judas Messiah movie. Anywho, but I think you should watch it. I just think that it's missing some components. That's it. Have a great afternoon.